Good evening, everybody. My name is Weed, and welcome to this Nameless Hour podcast. I'm joined today by Tyr, Gabe, and Dozer. Later on, we will have a special guest and one of the original cast joining us today. We're going to have some interesting topics today. We're going to have, some things that are going to be kind of hard to hear for everybody, but a lot of people have the same feelings and the same ideas. We're just saying them out loud.
So with that intro, I do want to kind of make a little bit of a shout out here. So we actually have Gabe, and I know in some of our previous episodes, you guys have heard us talk about Gabe. He is our audio and visual editor over here for the Nameless Hour podcast. He's the man that makes the magic behind the screen. We brought him up here today, and we want to make sure he gets the proper shout out for all the hard work he does over here at the Nameless Hour podcast. And then you've got Dozer over here. It's his first episode appearance. He is actually one of our project coordinators for the Nameless Hour podcast. He got put up to the project coordinator position back in, I want to say, around August, September area.
Yeah, it was definitely around that area, just after July.
Yeah, it was right around the August, September area. We moved Mr. Dozer here up to the project coordinator. So he helps out myself and Gabe, Weed, and some of the other coordinators and moderators with a lot of the planning and everything regarding the episodes, laying everything out, make sure everybody's doing the things they're doing, helping with the meetings. But like Weed said, today we're going to be talking about a few different things. One of the things we wanted to bring into this episode is we're going to be talking about some of the hard truths about life. Another topic we're going to kind of bring in is we're going to talk about the deterioration of the idea that hard work pays off. We've all been, most of us with the age group that we're in now, as we were growing up, we're always told, hard work pays off. Just keep working hard and it'll pay off. And we want to talk a little bit about that, how that kind of idea is deteriorated in today's society. And with that, we're going to bounce off that, talking about companies that are wanting experience or degrees for these entry-level jobs out here, unwilling to give hard workers a chance to learn and become proficient in that area. And then we had Dozer actually brought forth a idea regarding the deterioration of the original grinds that we're so used to when it comes to video games, to earn things like weapons, skins, even just your simple progression, how that stuff's now just being sold out, literally, that you can just buy these things. These things are becoming pay to win at this point. And how these big name video game companies are now catering more to their mainstream streamers for base content, ideas, skins, and everything else instead of the overall populace. So with that, let's go ahead and dive in. We'll start kind of diving into the first, or actually, you know what? Why don't we do a little bit of a recap? I know it's been a while since our last episode. I think our last episode we sent out in September. So let's do a little recap on everybody. See how everybody's been. How was your guys' holidays? Tell us how you guys have been doing.
I guess I'll take that for now. Holidays were pretty good. And I want to apologize to everybody, those who listen in and look forward to seeing our faces or listening to us on our platforms. We're going to try this year to push out as many as we can and get on a way more heavy of a schedule. But holidays were good. I went home to see family. For those that may have not listened to previous episodes, I am active duty military, so I don't always have the chance to do that. Shout out to all the military and veterans that know exactly what I'm talking about. It's definitely strange going back home now and again. All my friends, they may have moved on, but family's always good to see. Getting back into some normal life instead of military, which is, beyond normal. Moved into a new place, got a few new things set up, and I'm definitely excited for this year. I hope, good things become of it.
All right, Dozer, what about you, buddy?
I tell you what, it has been, since September, it has been busy for us. I think between my normal job and the seasonal job, I'm about 7 to 6 days since working straight since, I think, October. So it's definitely been busy for me. Holidays been good, friends, family, stuff like that. But it flew by. Thanksgiving hit. Or Halloween hit, and the next thing I know, it's Christmas, and I'm like, what happened? We didn't even celebrate Thanksgiving. It was insane. But yeah, excited for this season, the rest of the season. Excited for the rest of the year. Hopefully we can get more than one or two every 3 months right now with everybody being busy. But yeah, I see a lot of potential, and we'll go from there.
All right, Mr.
Yeah,
Gabe, how about you, brother?
yeah, I mean, holidays, just normal family stuff. I live with my dad, but my mom and my sister are a couple hours east of me, so it was nice to just go spend a couple days with them. I had 2 weeks off of work, kind of middle of December, so that kind of really helped just relieve the stress of the year. Although with my line of work, it's a lot of everybody's freaking out in those last, especially the last week leading up to that, because it's like, okay, well, we got to get everything done. We got to make all these clients happy and make sure that the last episode of whatever TV show or movie, whatever it is that we're working on, gets out in time for the holidays. But yeah, I'm excited to be on for my first episode. And it's, I've been behind the scenes the entire time doing the editing, so I kind of got a feel of everybody else's dynamic and what's going on. But yeah, it's going to be exciting. And this is a good episode for me because I can kind of go talk about some of my background with the audio stuff and how kind of tough that industry is to get into, and what the employers are kind of like for us.
Absolutely. A
How
little
about you two?
recap of mine. It's been pretty busy. As you guys know, I run the de-icing operation for my local airport. We've been fairly busy. Typically right around August, September is when we're doing a lot of our training. I think this season alone, I think we're upwards now of 115 people total.
Is it that high now?
Yeah, so I think we're about 115 people, and so it's a lot of training to do, especially when the training consists of a week-long training. We had some wrenches thrown into our plans in the early season, with some things that, the corporate aspect wanted to change, but we recovered. And it is what it is. Now we're coming to that point. Now that the holidays are over, it's like we've seen in previous years. People got their holiday money, so now they're not really wanting to work a whole lot. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of overtime right now,
it's a struggle
especially
right
with
now.
this winter storm
Yeah.
that's blowing through the Midwest. It's been nuts.
I was going to ask about that with the whole
I just
de-icing
looked.
thing.
I just looked at the weather. Right, it doesn't look good. Like the next few weeks, like we have -2 as a low on Tuesday. Like
Yep.
it's gonna be rough. But
Yeah. It's
So,
gonna be
so
rough.
with that crazy winter storm that hit, how often were you de-icing planes?
Consistently. So I'd say Sunday I think Sunday is when that first part hit. That Saturday night, Sunday
Yeah.
morning. So when that first part hit, I was there Saturday night all through Sunday morning. Was able to go home for a couple hours, shower, change, and then I was really right back here, right back in it. And then that same night, it got to the point where we pretty much told their airlines, like, there's nothing we can do for you guys.
Wow.
It was even to the point, for any basketball fans that are out there that might be listening, your Golden State Warriors were here in Indiana playing the Pacers last weekend, and they were actually on the verge of being grounded and stuck here in Indiana because of that storm. But my team went out that night and actually took care of their Atlas Air 747, and we were able to get them off the ground and get them out of here and get them back home safely.
I was gonna say I got in it. So I got in at 3 a.m. on Sunday, and I don't think that we officially stopped spraying until like noon the next day.
Yeah,
Like it was consistently like all day, all night, like same crew.
right.
Yeah.
And I apologize. The Golden State Warriors was 757 I sprayed yesterday. The 747 was actually the Jacksonville Jaguars that were here playing
Same
the
thing.
Colts.
Same thing.
So
Same thing.
that was the
It's
Jacksonville
close enough.
Jaguars that we played, or that the Colts played. So we got to take care of their aircraft, which was really cool. And then, like I was saying yesterday, we actually took care of the 757 that the Golden State Warriors were here for. But yeah, it's been nuts, man. This winter storm. Yesterday, I got off at 7 o'clock last night, and I came off of a 38-hour shift. I had gone in at 4 a.m. the day before and got off at 7 p.m. last night. So
And then proceeded to stay up till like 5 a.m. Yeah.
but it's a fun job. I love it. That's why I've been here for as long as I have.
So piggyback off that, you had mentioned that now holiday season's over and people are quitting.
Yep.
Like they just stop showing up. I think that plays well with what we're talking about tonight. The deterioration of the hard work. Like they're only in it for the money. They're not in it for any experience. They're not in it for a career. And I mean, obviously it's a seasonal job. There's only so much you can do. It's only from August to April, May occasionally. But I mean, you look at me and you. We've been there. I've been there 10 seasons. You've been there 5. Like, it's fun, but it's hard to keep people.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially in this pay scale and economy that we live in. And yeah, I mean, see it every day.
Yeah, and if you remember our first episode, we talked about how wages aren't keeping up with the inflation and the cost of living and everything else. I mean, this is a perfect example. People are taking these jobs like what we have and making it a quick part-time, cash in, cash out, get out of here. I think it's time people get a reality check that, you're only going to be able to do that for so long. That short-term gain is not going to come into benefit in that long-term run, if that makes sense. But when we're talking about earlier, one of our topics, talking about some of the hard truths about life, is I think that's something that in today's society that has kind of fallen off the face of the earth, as you don't hear those hard truths that we all heard when we were kids growing up. That's like simple things like facts.
Bet you won't do that again.
Like, bet you won't do that again. Facts over feelings, stuff like that. like little sayings and snippets that we heard growing up. How often can you say you hear that stuff anymore, right?
Almost never.
So I've been doing some research and been doing some kind of grabbing some tidbits from articles and stuff that I've been reading over. And I came up with kind of a list of some ones that I think play into and can play into now going into this newer generation of people, and even still some people from our own generations in our age groups. One of the first ones that I found was, and I think this is a good one because so many people, like we said, are so focused on making the money. But so what it says is your material wealth won't make you a better or a happier person. So when you hear that, what's the first thing that runs through your head when you hear that?
So a lot of times people, they have all this money that they've either gotten from their inheritance or from their parents, that they're like allowance or something. Then translates to them thinking everything's going to be handed to them because they were never told no as a kid. Amount of times, you were saying something about how often do you hear, things that you used to. It's like, don't touch what isn't yours, or no. Like, how often do you really hear parents saying no to their kids nowadays, So I feel that parents that, give their kids money, or even those who might become TikTok famous or things like that, or the people that are on Twitch that, some of them are good and deserve the money because they provide entertainment and good actual content, while some other ones don't. And you go out and you meet these people in real life and they're not who you thought they were. I mean, I don't know how many people know about the things going on with Tim the Tap Man and Ninja. I don't know if anyone's, really seen anything about that. Ninja has taken a lot of his wealth and his power and has tried to say that he's better than Tim at just about every game. Why? Just because you have this fan base, this money, whatever it might be, or the ones that I've seen this firsthand, that their friends or their close family might not be doing so good, but they're going to go and blow the money that they have on themselves. What does that show for you? You get all this money and what? You're going to be a selfish individual about it. Those who didn't grow up with that, I'll be honest, I struggle with saving money sometimes. I try to do everything I can to provide for my family and things like that, and I help out my friends when I can. But I'm not going around and spending thousands of dollars on myself because that's not the kind of person I am.
So to back that up, I mean, you look at us as society, right? Everything's money driven these days. I mean, it's insane how much things are money driven, but you also got to look at the other side of the coin. They're not teaching that stuff in school.
No.
They're not teaching accounting. They're not teaching basic quality of life things that you need to know. You will get out of high school and it's okay. What do I do now? Oh, well, I got all this money. Let's just do this or do that. And then you get down that rabbit hole. And I definitely think that, The other thing that I've heard is, you can't take your money when you're dead.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. It was one of the other ones I saw. It was your achievements and successes won't matter on your deathbed.
Yeah.
And I mean, it doesn't matter what your profession is. When you're laying on your deathbed, you're on that verge of crossing over. It doesn't. It's not going to matter, because in the end, like, yeah, you could be this renowned author and people are going to read your books and they're going to quote your books and stuff and stuff like that. But when you're laying there, the last thing that you're thinking about is, at least from what I know, or what I would think is about things that either I didn't do enough of, like maybe spending time with family and friends, or chasing the things that I love to do in life because I was so focused on chasing the money and everything else. You know what I mean?
Even on that note, you have to think those who that are on their deathbed, who are they surrounded by? Are they surrounded by their money and their achievements, or the friends and family that they made along the way?
Yeah.
Right.
Who's going to be at their funeral? Because if you find someone that's selfish and self-loathing, then they're not going to have a lot of people with them at the end. They're going to be lonely. They might have had quote unquote friends were there just for their money that won't be with them at the end. But if you are a actual good person, you're going to have a lot of friends and family there when you need them the most.
Yeah, and I think that comes with like a interesting balance you kind of have to establish throughout your life of finding what you enjoy, but also making sure that you are devoting any amount of time to keeping up all of your relationships that you deeply care about, whether that's friends or family or both, or relationships, whatever it might be. And also at the same time, if you are a person that seeks enrichment and wants to leave your mark on the world and wants to do something that is going to matter, and do something for change, then you also have to balance that as well, right? So you can see a lot of, people who are very, very well off. There's kind of two main paths they can get to that. One is either being really smart, and the other is being really self-centered.
I'm actually glad you said that. You're talking about like you got to build your relationships and everything like that, and that actually circles back to one of the other ones that I found that really stuck out to me. And it said you need to improve your relationships to have lasting happiness. And that bounced off perfect what you said. I mean, in all reality, like you're not taking these things. They're not going to be sitting around you. You're not going to have mounds and mounds of money sitting next to you as you're on that deathbed about to cross over. You've got the people that you actually invested your time and happiness into that are going to be standing there that are still part of your life. If you didn't push everybody away, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But no, that's perfect. Like, I mean, I love that you said that. And now this one's going to kind of hit some of those that are getting starting to get up there in the age now, and some of us that feel like we're getting up there in the age. But the years pass faster every year.
So I'm not the only one that thought that. Okay. That's okay.
Like you said earlier, we hit Halloween, and then next thing you know, it was Thanksgiving, and then Christmas, and then New Year's, and now here we are halfway through January already, and it's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tend to realize that kind of halfway through each month, I'm just like, how? How did we get here?
But here's the question is, why do you think that is? Do you think that's just because we're so busy with our outside life that we forget to step back and evaluate our day, and we just blow through days?
Yeah, I think especially with social media and how like kind of involved it is, I think just the idea of mindfulness in general is probably really, really lost. And I'd say that's for myself as well. Like I have friends that they're adamant that they will pretty much never go on social media unless it's just like a message from somebody, and they spend some time either journaling or meditating or whatever it is, whatever kind of self-reflection they can do at the end of the day. And it's something you kind of have to commit to for the long haul, but the improvement there kind of allows you to see your own progression, right? Where we're kind of in a society, especially kind of to loop back to how low paying some of these jobs are, that people are requiring really specialized skills to actually be able to do the work. If you're not getting paid enough, you have to work a lot, and if you're working a lot, you don't have time to think about all these other things going on around you, right? Like if you have if you're a parent and you have kids, like, are you actually watching your kids grow up, or are you working 60 hours a week, right? Like,
I
what are,
yeah.
Yeah.
like, what are you doing?
Dude, I'll tell you right now, I am absolutely guilty of that. And for those that have been watching the episode, they've seen a lot of me. They've seen a lot of weed. Um, as I heard a lot about what we talk about. But one of the things that we did when we started this podcast, we wanted to do a lot of viewer engagement and stuff. And we actually have a viewer here with us tonight. And I think it'd be a good time to bring that person up, let them introduce themselves, and let him come up here and get involved in this kind of conversation, because I think there's some things in here that he'll be able to speak on. And this is just coming from another person that's just like us, works hard, and he does gaming on the side, stuff like that. So with that, we're going to bring up Mr. Para. He goes by Paranoia Agent. We're going to bring him up and let him talk for a little bit, and then Weed will be rejoining us here shortly.
Wait, so does this mean that we've got our first special guest?
Yep.
In theory?
How are we, everybody?
All right. Welcome in,
There he
Para.
is.
So this here is Paranoia. We're going to go ahead and let him introduce himself, tell us a little bit about himself, and then we'll lay it on him. All right. Go ahead, Para. Tell us a little bit about you.
Hey guys, how you doing? My name's Paranoid. I've been in aviation about, I'd say, 4 years now. I started at de-icing at the company that Tyr and Dozer work at, as well as, others. I also work for Southwest now. Going along with that, I do stream on the side. I stream because I love it. I enjoy it. If I'm going to be playing video games, why not stream it?
How long have you been streaming for?
I would say I've been streaming about 2-3 years, taking it seriously about a year. And then with the span of time of, piggyback off what you guys say about, media and stuff like that. There's things that you could do that could help speed along to anybody that's new at streaming or anything like that.
So Para, we're up here, we're talking about, I'm sure as you were growing up, you used to hear a lot of phrases and sayings a lot that your parents would say. And like we were saying earlier, stuff like, no, I bet you won't do that again, stuff like that. You heard things like that. So we've been sitting here kind of going through a list of some of the hard truths that you don't really hear anymore. And one of the ones that we came across, it was kind of a mix of a few different ones here, but we were talking about how like your material wealth isn't going to make you a better or a happier person. Your successes aren't going to matter when you're on your deathbed. You need to improve your relationships to have lasting happiness, and the years pass faster every year. When you're hearing stuff like that, how does that resonate with you, especially, when you look at today's society and the way that society has gone now?
Well, when I hear that stuff, like things that you don't hear no more, like, let him touch it. He'll know it's hot. He'll learn from that. Let him get burned. Not only are you like teaching your kid as a don't touch something that's hot, is, hey, I got burnt. How can I come back and not do that again? Or how can I fix it to avoid getting burned? Stuff like that. And then like the general wealth and stuff like that. Define what is wealth. Define what is successful. What do you see as a successful to you? To me, success is I have a house, I have somewhere to live, I have a car, I have food. Yeah, having all money and being rich. And I would say the more money you have, the less stress I would say you have on certain things, but there's also that comes stress that comes with that. People putting their hands out. Hey, you remember I did this for you? Hey, help me here. Hey.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know who you are. So, I mean, being rich has its positives and its negatives. Having, the thought that you really don't have to worry about a lot financially is a very ease to the mind. But it's also not everything it's meant. Like my dad always tells me, he's like, just like you guys were talking about, hey, he's like, what's money? It's just a piece of paper. He's like, we put a value to a piece of paper. Where's it going to be when you're gone? On that day, on your last breath, who's going to be there? Money, success, your accolades, what's going to be there? It's who you are and what you leave behind is who is going to be there.
And I think it's really important that, especially if you're talking about who's going to be there on your deathbed, like what kind of people are you surrounding yourself with? It's really important that the people that you're leaving behind are going to continue whatever good you were spreading in the world, right? Like if you're trying to leave a legacy and that's really important to you, you want those people around you to help you with that, right? But like not in a selfish way of, oh, I'm gonna get a bunch of people who all agree with me on everything I say and are gonna
Right.
boost my ego and mentality, but people who care in the same way that you care, right? People who you want to spend time with because of who they are,
Right.
not specifically what they bring to your table.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's one thing that I find really important is like I've never been somebody who's had a lot of friends, but I pick them very carefully.
Right.
Like I'll invest 110% into somebody knowing that that person is a good person and that, you know, I'm not just going to get abandoned if something goes wrong or we have an argument or anything like that, right? So,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
So I've got another one here, and I want to see kind of how this plays out because I think there's going to be some split with this one. So it says your obsession to finding happiness is what prevents its attainment.
I could see it.
Yeah, I can see it too because we get too focused on what we want in life and what we where. So okay, let me rephrase. Let me roll back. So at a young age, with the older generation, our dads, our grandpas, so on, we see them work very hard. They say, for an instance, as males, you need to do this. You need to provide for your family. You need to take care of everything. You are the man. You do this. That's what you're taught as a young age. And the older you get, you're like, man, if you're not where you want to be in life, you're too focused on the negatives instead of what's positive and what's there and what you have around you.
So I could see where what you were talking about. You never attain it if you're trying too hard, basically. Is that the gist of it? I think as human beings and as people, at least for me and what I've experienced, we sit there and we go, okay, I want to be an aviation mechanic. Cool. I go to aviation school, and then out of the blue, I go, oh, I want to be a diesel mechanic. And then now it's, oh, I want to be this or I want to be that. So we've always made our goal for that moment in time, but I don't think we ever find exactly where we want to be anymore. It used to be when you went to a job, you worked there 30, 40, 50 years if you could. That was your same job. You didn't do anything else. That was your job for 50 years. Now, I mean, I'd have to look up the statistic, but I think it's like anybody below the age of, I think, 30 or 35, they swap jobs about 6 to 7 times on average, like per year. And that's astronomical. Like, could you imagine switching jobs every like 3-4 months?
I don't want to deal with all those W-2s come tax season.
Or the resume. Like, could you imagine your resume? Yeah. Oh, yeah, here's my resume. It's 9 pages long, and I'm only 22. Like, yeah, no. Yeah, no. I definitely could see that, yeah.
So another one I come across here, and I know that we all know somebody that we all know, and plus we've been personally victim of going through shit. And, a lot of people nowadays, when they're going through shit, we get a lot of the, oh, woe is me card, if that makes sense. Especially in today's like newer generation that's coming up. It's like, they a lot of people want to play victim, right? Is the best way to say it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this one I came across, and I think it kind of fits really well here, is it says nobody cares how difficult your life is, and you are the author of your own life story.
Yeah, exactly. Like my grandfather, he told me when I was a kid, what your parents decide and what you do with your life is your book, your story. How your book ends and how it goes is all on you. Yes, there might be people in your life that are going to be there for you and help you along the way, but at the end of the day, you are your worst enemy. You are your worst critic. So at the end of the day, it's you versus the world, as life, as hard as it is, with the obstacles that everybody has to go through in life. Everybody has a story. Everybody's got a problem. It's how they figure out and how they navigate through life to figure out how to overcome it.
I think a lot of people forget that too, right? Like one thing that I notice so often is like, and one thing that I try to be very cognizant about is like, if I'm dealing with somebody who works in the service industry in any way, it's like, be nice to that person. Like, they deal with so much shit from everybody else on a day-to-day basis. It's like, I don't need to be adding to this giant pile that they probably got going on. So like, just being cognizant of, you know, everybody is a person. They are all dealing with their own stuff. And, you know, being able to be introspective about your own views and how you might come off to other people, making sure that you're focused at least somewhat on, you know, spreading more good than bad. Right? Like, and it can be done in small ways or big ways, but that's kind of one thing that like I if I have an opportunity to be nice to somebody, I'm going to try to be nice to someone. And that's kind of how I move through my life.
Yeah.
A couple more of these kind of like things that, like I said, I think people need to hear nowadays. And then we'll kind of start rolling into the next thing. So, and we've all, so how many of us can say we've all been victim about what somebody thinks of us, whether it be parents, friends,
All the time.
everybody's.
Haters are my motivators, man.
Well, at some point, we've all been victim of it. Whether we think about, you know, if I do this, what is my mom going to think, or my dad going to think, or my grandpa going to think, or maybe my significant other, or, you know, my best friend, or whatever it might be. Whenever you're worried about what others will think of you, you're truly just worried about what you're going to think of yourself.
100%.
And I don't think I ever really thought of it that way. You know, when it came to doing something, what did I, you know, I used to think, what would my dad think? What's my dad going to think if I'm doing this? Or what's my mom going to think? It never correlated or even had the cognizant idea of, you know, that truly judging myself. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, definitely. And you know the crazy part about it is that part of everybody's life in current generations, and that's all dying off. I mean, we were raised that you didn't act stupid. Like, that's just you didn't play around. If your mother said do something, you did it. Like, that's the hard truth. Now, as an adult, yeah, you're right. I definitely just sit there and go, well, I wonder what mom's gonna think when I tell her that this or whatever. And it does freak me out. But again, you're right. I'm thinking about myself more than
Subconsciously
others.
judging yourself.
Yeah.
And I like how you were saying, like, being taught this growing up. But like you were saying, you know, one of the other things that we were taught when we were growing up was hard work pays off. Our grandfathers, our fathers, great grandfathers always told us, you know, you work your ass off, you commit, you go show up every day. One of the things that my grandfather used to say, and it still resonates with me to this day, was it doesn't matter what you do in life. You could be shoveling shit at the zoo, but you're going to be the best shit shoveler that you could possibly be, right? Mm-hmm. And because in his generation and his father's generation, hard work did pay off. You know, back then it did. You go and you show up every day, you bust your ass, you do what you're supposed to do. You're going to make a wage to be able to provide for your family and stuff. That's gone. That's gone.
That's gone.
You know, now it's come to the world as in, you know, it's like now if I could go apply to any company and honestly any company aside from maybe like McDonald's, Chick-fil-A, you know, Crew Car Wash and some of these other little places, but career wise, like if I wanted to go and apply to learn how to start being maybe an electrician, if I want to go and learn how to be an electrician or an HVAC technician, one of the first thing they ask you is, well, do you have a degree?
Yeah.
Or what's your experience?
Yep.
And I'm like, well, this is supposed to be you're hiring for for entry level trainees. What do you mean?
Yeah.
Why?
So I had that.
Go ahead.
I had that same issue. I applied for the local union for heavy equipment operator. I was in between aviation and diesel mechanic, and I was like, you know what? They get paid pretty well, decent hours, within reason. I'm going to apply. And literally, it was a 40-question test that said, have you ever drove a forklift? Have you ever drove a skid steer? Have you ever did anything with dirt equipment? And it's like, I'm applying to be a part of your apprenticeship program. Like, make that make sense. Why I get that you would want to know what my level of training is, but if I say I don't have that stuff, that's perfect for you. Because now you have somebody that you can easily mold into what you need for a company. And people have lost that. Now it's all about degrees and spending 60, 80, 200K on a 6-year degree, and then you get $20 at McDonald's because you're overqualified now. Or the degree has changed, or just crazy.
Don't even use it. Like the statistics of college kids that graduate from college don't even use the degrees they went for.
Yeah.
And now they're in debt for most of their life, or half their life, or all their life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like for my industry working in audio, degrees are pretty much a given. And it's really weird because it's not like the schools that you go to and the programs that you go through, they're not like university programs. Like you're not coming out of school with a university degree. It's a lot of college degrees. And these programs can range anywhere between 1 and 4 years, but that's kind of the main thing that they look for. And I don't know anybody that I work with personally, which I work with a lot of different people who, even started way back and working in the 60s and 70s in audio, and everybody went to school for it. Everybody went and got some kind of college degree for it. And it's a really weird circumstance of like, maybe it's because the industry's niche. Maybe it's the people who do have a big sense of hard work go and try to do something else. Because there's not really apprenticeship programs and stuff that you can do to skip the school side. It's just get your degree and then you do the apprenticeship, which, like you guys are saying, it doesn't make sense, right? You're trying to get into something, you're trying to learn, and you have all these pretty much paywalls right in front of you of, no, go do this first. When the actual information you might need for the job might be something super specific that you wouldn't even get taught.
To add to that part, what do we all say when we don't know something? Go to Google. Go to YouTube.
Yep.
Nowadays, you can learn anything without really doing a degree.
Mm-hmm.
You literally can learn anything to do yourself. And going back to, hard work pays off. Well, kids these days that are younger than us look at us or look at the older generation that are tore down. Yeah, they might, have a good retirement and stuff like that, but they're all broke down. They have these health issues because they bust their ass for 30, 40 years for a low amount of nothing. And they're looking at now the way the companies treat people. They, why should I work so hard for a low amount of money when I could die today and you'll replace me tomorrow with somebody else?
Yep.
Like that's the hard truth.
That was the biggest one. You're always replaceable.
Yeah, you're a number. You're a number to their games. This is how can they use you to gain satisfaction towards what they're looking for? And that's just what college degrees. I watched a video and it made perfect sense to me sitting here thinking about it when I listened to it. The guy in the interview said the reason why they want you to have a college degree of a certain amount of years is they want to see how much crap you could deal with and how long you could be there. So they know that they could use that against you. Not against you per se, but they know that you can deal with it.
Right.
Yep. Now, here's the other side of that coin, since we're talking about colleges. Our local law enforcement, they are required to have, I think it's a bachelor's degree in criminal justice now, which it used to not be a thing. That is 100% a great idea to have your law enforcement know the law. That makes sense. But it's not for every degree. And that's the problem. And like for me, I went to college. I went for aviation, right? I busted my butt for 2 years, summers, everything, right? I didn't pass one test. I had to retake everything. I just said screw it and didn't do it because I gave up because I had put so much hard work into it. And I think that's the issue. I think people put so much hard work into things now, or used to, I guess, and then they give up because they don't get anything out of it.
And that's what burnout actually is.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't realize that. Like, if you work incredibly hard and you see results, that can keep pushing you forward. But as soon as you get to a point where you're working, you know, 60, 70, 80 hours a week and you're feeling like you're either barely scraping by if it's like a financial problem or barely hanging on if it's like a mental thing, right? That's not a situation that you want to put yourself in if you can avoid it, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's just burnout in its simplest form, and you need, like, we need enrichment, right? And we need it kind of in every step of our life. If we work a really, really tough job and go home and there's nothing that we can find happiness in, then you're screwed, right? If you can find happiness in that really, really tough work, you can do that for a very, very long time. If it's a physical job, it might not be something you can do forever, but, at the end of the day, people say, try to, keep your passion separate from your career, right? Like,
No.
have hobbies, right? But have your career be something separate and just focus on the money. But personally, I don't want to do that. I want my job to be something I can go and enjoy. And if it takes me a while to get to a proper financial stability position, I'm okay with that. But I'd rather do that than just sell myself behind a desk and suffer. I'll put as much hard work as I need to get the actual results that I want. And I want to do it with something I'm going to enjoy.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead,
I was
buddy.
gonna say, just before you go, to a person that I watch a lot always said, "Is it really a job if you enjoy it? If it's something you enjoy, is that really a job?"
To kind of piggyback off that, there was another old saying, and I'm sure everybody's ever heard this: you'll never work a day in your life if you love what you do.
Exactly.
And I want to recap, and when we do this little bit of a recap on something that Dozer just said, we're going to bring weed back up. So before we do that, before I go into the recap, I do want to thank Paranoia for joining us tonight and giving us
Thank
a
you,
little bit
guys.
of insight and coming from especially a face that our viewers and our listeners haven't seen a lot. They've never really met him, but I'm glad you came up. I'm glad you got to join us. I hope you decide to join us in future episodes, and I'm glad to also now have you part of the podcast team as well. So as we transition here, this recap that we're going to do is I noticed that Dozer had something regarding having a college degree in order to be able to work for local PDs and the sheriff's office and law enforcement. With that, I kind of want to also kind of throw something, because I've been in that case when it comes to law enforcement. So they will take somebody that has never done any sort of security or anything, but because they have a degree, a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. But you know who they won't take?
A guy with corrections officer experience for the last 12 years. Yeah. Oh, I know. I have
But they
a couple friends that are that way.
But they won't hire somebody who's been a correctional officer.
Yep.
Yeah, and that makes no sense.
Yeah.
Like, I've met so many people that do a better job that doesn't have a degree in that position, but does a way better job than somebody that does have a degree in that position. And they know more.
Before he leaves, I do want to give him, tell everybody, we are going to be adding his stream in the links in the description. So please go view him, see what he's got. He's a great streamer and he's really helpful. Anytime, if you hop in our Discord and you send him a direct message, he'll be happy to help you get things set up. Super swell. So thank you, Para, for joining
Appreciate
us.
you guys. Yep.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
It's great to have you on.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm looking to future and forwards. Like they said, if you guys need help or anything, just let me know. I'll do the best I can, or if I don't know it, I'll find it. I'm never going to tell you no.
Yep.
Sounds awesome. Thanks, man. See you around.
Yes, sir.
Ahoy, mignoy.
So welcome back, Weed.
Thank you.
So the next topic, it hits home for a lot of us. It's the video game world. We love video games. That is like the main, I wouldn't say it's the main reason that we are all friends, but it's a pretty good reason why we're all friends. We play video games. We love video games. However, there is a side of video games that we do not enjoy. And that's pay to win. A lot of bigger franchises used to be, oh, well, if I want to level up or prestige to level 10, I got to grind for it. Oh, I want this skin for this gun. I got to kill 100 zombies upside down while throwing a Simtex at the same time. Like some outlandish thing. And that was the best part about those games, was the outlandish like challenges. Throwing a knife, spinning around, jumping up, smacking somebody in the face, like whatever. Yes, I know.
Tomahawk Alpha Spawn.
Or like
Tomahawk Alpha
Yes,
Spawn. Black
Tomahawk
Ops 1.
Spawn. Yep.
Dude,
And you get a calling
RuneScape.
card. You'd hear that little ding, like, oh yeah. Or if you're on Xbox, it was that little thing in the bottom corner, and it had some cheesy line like "You did it" or something like that. But now, I sit there and we play video games frequently. I'm not naming any names because it's not fair to them, but the major gaming society is pay to win. Oh, that looks like a cool skin. I'm gonna buy it. Oh, well, it's $25. Well, how else can I get it? Oh, you can only buy it. Oh, and we're gonna limit it for a season, or we're gonna limit it for 5 hours, and you're never gonna see it again. It just, again, takes the hard work out of things and makes things a lot easier. And the other part of that is which I have no problem with major streamers. Great group of people to watch. I love them. I watch them all the time. Problem is, they get so big, and then these developers are like, oh, well, they're massive. Let's give them a skin. That's great. Or they didn't like this in the game, so we're going to patch it. Even though everybody else in the entire community, millions of people, loved this idea of whatever the game mechanic was. And
I mean, look what Fortnite turned into.
yeah.
I know we weren't trying to drop names, but like that's like the biggest biggest one that does that. I've seen clips of big streamers calling devs of Fortnite, and something gets changed or someone gets banned because of maybe they have a different mechanic or something, and all the skins for a whole bunch of these people. For what? To make money? Because all the gaming industry has changed from wanting to have people enjoy the game to them making the most amount of money possible. And that's the biggest change, because it used to be, let's make a really good game that we can get a lot of sales of the game itself. Now it's a whole bunch of microtransactions, buying skins, buying guns, buying packages, all of these different things across many different platforms. I mean, even the game that we all know and love, Rocket League, that's, having some issues. They got rid of the biggest part of that game, trading, and that everybody wants back. And now it's all, you have to buy it yourself or, play a stupid amount of times. The only thing that I really enjoy about it is that there is no pay to win in that game. You either suck or you're good. That's still one of the games that's true to its nature.
And I think esports, or like esport titles, are probably the only games that can kind of get away with that.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that's free to play nowadays, if it's not an esport title, it's a cash grab. And even the esport titles are also cash grabs, but at least there's a whole idea of like, well, you're trying to improve so that, whether it's somebody who wants to go pro or climb the ranks or whatever they're doing, or even if it's just playing for fun with friends, like at least you have the core gameplay that you can always fall back on. But if you go back 10, 20 years to like kind of early gaming, there was no free to play games, right? Or they're very, very infrequent. Like free to play games were on your phone. And even then they sometimes were still $4 or $5, $10, right?
With your Nokia brick or
Or the first iPod Touch.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
exactly. Remember like Fruit Ninja and all that stuff way back when.
And even
right?
Fruit
that's
Ninja
what's-
you ended up having to buy Fruit Ninja. Like what was it, like 5 years
Yeah.
after it came out? Now it's like a $5 game you got to buy.
well, and that's what's
Pocket Edition Minecraft.
that's what's
Yeah.
that's what's baffling, right? Like you're talking about iPad or iPod, right? You'd buy a game or a song, it was 99 cents when it first came out. They're now like $5, $6. And like I said, skins, certain games, $20, $30, $40. It's like,
If not more.
Why?
If not more.
I'm not getting anything out of this other than I look sparkly. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like that's just
Sparkly.
sparkly. Yeah.
Scrooge's car.
So
Rocket.
here's the thing, right? You were talking about how Fortnite changed it. I don't think it was that. I think when we went to all digital gameplay, you didn't have to go to GameStop. You didn't have to stand in line for 6, 7, 20 hours at midnight waiting for a game. And if you remember when GameStop was a thing or buying games, that game did not go below $59 for years. Now you get games that they come out year later, they're like $20. Now, that's where I think it went wrong.
I mean, but then again, we're kind of biased towards that because of Steam. In
Yeah.
reality, because I mean, I don't have a console anymore. I used to, and it was a disc edition PS5.
Yeah.
But now everything, I have everything on Steam. But the diehard fans that have, Xboxes or PS5s that need a disc, they're still going to go out and do that and have to go get the game when it comes out. But there is also the PlayStation Store and things like that. So you're right in that sense. But having a physical copy, it still does exist. It's just, as you said, way lowered. But am I biased because of Steam and I won't buy a game until it goes on sale? Yeah, because I'm not spending.
And that's a financial, yeah.
Because I'm not going to spend $60 on a game. For what reason? Like, it's a game that I might, because I have such a busy life and things like, and I'm sure everybody really doesn't have, time to, I'm going to drop, $60 on this game that I might get a couple of hours out of. It's not worth it when instead I can go spend that $60 and go have a trip with the wife or something and go and experience something and remember something.
But again, it goes back to catering to certain things, right? You can't tell me that when Black Ops 1 came out, you were not waiting to spend $60 on that game. Because you knew that game was going to be badass, ready to play, hours of time played. Like, I think, we probably had 1,500 hours at least in that game.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now it's like, they're on whichever one they're on or whatever game it is. And it's like, yeah, I got 5 minutes out of this.
I think another big change was Battle Royale games. That was a big just bump in everything because there's no what games really besides Red Dead and maybe a couple others really even have a career mode anymore. Now it's all just Battle Royale games, Warzone, Fortnite, Apex, things like that are just all
they're great games.
They're great
in
games.
doses.
Yes, I'm not going to go and spend 40 hours, or whatever it is in a week playing a game that
It's repetitive.
It's repetitive. I'm getting killed by like a 12-year-old or
Oh, the nostalgia. Anyway.
I mean, that's just every game nowadays. Can't get around that.
yeah. I mean, hackers is also like that wasn't a thing really back then. It was every now and again, sure, because people really just hated their lives. But now it's so common nowadays that when you get a game on Steam, you have to agree to 1,000 different terms and services to allow them to look into your computer to see if you're using a cheat system.
Yeah. It used to be you could like have your game console and put a rubber band on one of the analog sticks and that was considered cheating. Now it's
Well, and
I
I think
remember doing that. I know you do.
yeah, or even like selling modded controllers and stuff like that way back when, or modding your own.
360 no scope.
Yeah, which I think like nowadays the issue with this is that all these, cheating mechanics and stuff that people have come up with for all these different games is it's monetized, right? These people are selling the cheats. If you go back 10, 15, 20 years ago, this was all just like open source, random bullcrap you're pulling off the internet and probably infecting your computer with a bunch of viruses at the same time. But at least you weren't paying for it.
Or even
And-
better, the cards with the Game Boy, you can insert this little cheat thing and come with a menu.
the Game Shark or whatever.
Some manufacturers even gave you a list of cheat codes, like the GTA 5 cheat codes on the PS3, spawning in a buzzard in story mode, doing stuff like that. It was open knowledge stuff to have fun with. Now people are trying to ruin other people's gaming experience and making themselves look good? No one likes a cheater. I mean, I sure as hell don't. People are even cheating in Rocket League because they're just bad, I guess. I mean, I'm bad. I don't cheat. It's just things like that ruin the experience for everybody else. However, if we notice that a lot of times, kind of circling back a little bit to the hard work doesn't pay off and people getting lazy, look at all the gamers that think that they're good enough to be a streamer and get pop, because everyone wants to be a Twitch streamer. Everyone wants to have that kind of success living in their mother's basement.
Listen, I'm not gonna lie. If you paid me millions to sit at a computer and play video games, I wouldn't be mad.
But do you have the socialization and the
that's why I
skill to
don't
do
do
so?
Yeah.
But everyone else thinks that they do. And social media and video games, the video game culture has caused a massive decrease in people that want to work because they have some other way of entertaining themselves. The world has become an entertainment network. If people aren't being stimulated or entertained, they're not going to do it. Then if a job doesn't entertain or stimulate someone, so they get lazy, they live with their parents until they're 30. It cancels out a lot of things, but that's because of the society and how it's changing and molding to this.
Quality of value and quality of life are hand in hand on that one.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, you guys won't see this in the podcast or hear it. Our moderators are messaging us. Our moderator Ace, that's currently moderating this episode, is putting in a cheat code for GTA for the all weapons cheat: RT, RT, LB, RT, left, down, right, up, left, down, right, up. And we are just dying because we're remembering doing this 1,000 different times because...
PS2 gang, R2, R2, L1, R2, left down, right up, left down, right up.
Yes.
PlayStation for life. Sorry, guys.
Let's go, baby.
Oh, did that drive you guys nuts? When
yes,
you'd go to your friend's house, you have an Xbox, you play Xbox the entire time, right? And then you go to the PS4 and it's like, or PS3 and it's like, there's a triangle on this.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, wait, you're used to X,
Yeah,
X being a complete different spot.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm going to be completely honest, right? Going to your friend's house and you have a PlayStation that you're all keeping nice and neat. You go touch an Xbox controller that's covered in Cheeto dust and bacon grease.
Yeah.
Tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah, and you turn two controllers on, turn the console on, get the red ring of death.
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah.
Oh, and co-op was a thing, and you'd be like, you have the controller. No, I have the controller. And then it's like, we both have the
Or
controller.
even better, the
We swap
split
things around.
screen.
Yeah,
Call of
Split
Duty,
screen.
split
Don't
screen.
cheat. Yeah, you're cheating.
Piece of
Cardboard. Yeah.
and two blankets over top of each other.
Yeah.
Screen
Yeah.
peeking. Yes.
Like there's using that in itself, you have to go to somebody's house to go do that or have siblings. Now that doesn't happen. You don't go out and make friends. So the socializing is becoming such lower and lower. It's ruining. So you have to think, right? I mean, we're all getting kind of old here, right?
The LAN
Speak for
parties when
yourself.
your buddies would
Speak
all
for
come over.
yourself
You'd
when
have
you come
you'd
out.
have the
Oh
big
my God.
sleepovers. Your buddies would bring their consoles, and you'd have the LAN party like
Yeah.
like for
Yeah.
Call of Duty or
Yeah.
Halo.
And you always had that
Yeah.
one kid that could never connect.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
He just couldn't figure it out. But nowadays it's also ruining like anybody that might have for kids. Kids are being exposed to this at a way too early of an age, which is ruining the expectations we have for them and the things that they are being exposed to, especially the words that they shouldn't know, and them then going to an adult like any one of us and being the most disrespectful kid.
Twats.
I was gonna say fucking twat waffle, but or fucking disrespectful little shit.
Tomato.
Yeah, but
I got you,
cancel.
don't worry.
Thanks, buddy.
Nailed it.
Yeah, and the issue with that too is like all the stuff that they see online, everything that goes viral is the bad shit pretty much, right?
Yeah.
So the clips that they're going to see is going to be people saying stuff that they should not be, internalizing and bringing that into their own life.
I think our greatest, and then this is going to be very opinionated, I think the greatest one was Vine.
Oh my
absolutely.
God.
Absolutely.
Black Ops 3, or Black Ops 1, you have all the like different like Doritos logos and everything else, and there's 360 no scoping, all that. That was fun. The thing of it is the quality of fun isn't there anymore. I go to an FPS shooter, and it's like, okay, cool, I did that. Like, there's no competition amongst friends.
You guys remember when you guys could make your own like backgrounds and player and like your player icons, when you had to spend hours either watching a tutorial on YouTube and doing it at the same time or figuring it out for yourself? You don't get to
Or just making a dick.
Yeah,
Okay,
I mean, yeah.
You still do.
So back to that. Have you guys played Legend of Zelda?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you remember the big ass book that you had to have? It wasn't Google at the time. That was that big ass tall book.
Yeah.
Like this big. And you had
Game
to thumb
guides.
through it before you died. Yep.
Or even the books that came with Minecraft.
How many of you used to go to the Scholastic Book Fair when you were kids to get the cheat code books?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Asking for money so you can go to the Scholastic Book Fair to get your cheat codes for the year. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And there's like one game in there that you actually own in it.
That doesn't even
You're
happen,
paying
yeah.
like $18 for this book, and there's only one game in there.
You're like, man, if I ever get any of these games, I'm gonna do so much cool stuff.
I mean, the Scholastic Book Fair is super rare too. Like that's gone. Like there's so many things that would allow for things like this. The things that we remember. Granted, it might be because nostalgia factor, but it's things that just don't happen anymore. So the socializing, the picking up on social cues, and being all around like a good person to be with is just gone because of that. So going back to like the whole job thing, people have to have, again, this is also because of inflation, things like that, more than one job. So they can't put a whole bunch of time and energy into one company. So then that company looks at them as more of a liability because, well, okay, if a person calls out, well, we can't call in on this person because they're out working at this other job. So, and, you know, someone had mentioned earlier about like a lot of hard work. Granted, you know, I'm in it, so I might be a little biased, but the military, it's a lot of hard work and it's not for everyone. And I've seen a lot of people that shouldn't really be in the military, whether that's because of their work ethic or because of their inability to socialize or adapt. It causes issues within the whole of the company. There's just a massive pit that they are digging themselves. But there is less, you know, everyone says, oh, it's the 1%. It's less than 1% that joins. And that's for a reason. It's because either, you know, people are too lazy to get up and, you know, be yelled at by another grown adult man to go do something, or someone that's like the same age that they are and have a higher rank than them. Could you imagine, right? You're a 19-year-old kid that grew up in this kind of culture,
Flashbanged.
right? In this culture, you're a 19-year-old who is so used to his parents giving him everything that they want and the culture of shit talking people. And now you got someone, after you go through basic, now you have someone that's the same age as you that is in charge of you, telling you to go run up and down some stairs or do push-ups because you did something stupid. No one wants to have that happen, but we do it because, you know, it's our country and we love it. I did it because I wanted to do that hard work to have a better financial future. No one thinks about the future. They think about right now. Oh, I need a car right now. I'm going to go get a job. All right, well, I don't like this job anymore. I'm just going to go DoorDash or go Uber Eats. Little, you know, getting to the end of our episode here, and, you know, please reach out to, you know, all of our social media on all our platforms. We have a link tree. It's linktree / Nameless Hour Podcast, all one word. Feel free to reach out to us in the emails, our Discord, our... I'm sorry, what I missed.
Give it a second and then let Dozer go.
I'm gonna let Dozer. I'm sorry.
You're good.
My fault? I didn't read it. I am so sorry.
This is why you're in the military.
Listen, what I saw was Linktree and Tyr's thing. I did not read above it at all.
Yeah, I hate
I
that it
was
does that.
task oriented. Okay.
Man, we were vibing there, and then it just
hard work, whatever. You'll figure out how to edit, Gabe. I love you.
Yeah, I'll figure something out.
You'll figure it out.
I'll throw a hoi minoi in there and just randomly change scenes.
All right, 3, 2, 1.
All right. So I think that's end of our podcast for today. That was a good one. Lots of things talked about that I hope resonate with people and understand that, again, we're not trying to attack anybody or anything. We're just 4 or 5 guys that do this and have fun with it. So that being said, thank you, Para, for being our special guest. Weed, Tyr, Gabe, thank you. If you want, please join us on Discord, discord.com nameless GG. We have Instagram, X, and Facebook.
Yep.
And then we have TikTok, The Nameless Hour podcast. So please join us there. And hope everybody has a good night. Or whenever you're watching this, you guys, see ya.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on. And yeah, look forward to more.
Good night.
See you
Good night,
guys.